and welcome to my channel. If you're just checking out my channel today, then please subscribe. You know how this Israel versus Palestine conflict is affecting and worrying everybody, right? Well, it's like people are now no longer scared of speaking out about a 73-year-old war that's been ongoing. We saw Trevor Noah commenting about it. Well, if you've not seen the video, then just check for it on this same channel. With that said, now we are seeing a lot of people on TikTok reacting to what is happening there. In short, TikTok reacts. Let's check out this.
The last thing I'm going to say on this topic, especially for black people, do not become lost in the sauce of anti-Semitism or Islamophobia when you start discussing this on antagonism between these two countries. Yes, I know that not all Israelis are Jewish, and I know that all Palestinians are not Muslim. However, when we start talking about Muslim population or Jewish populations in our community, especially out west, we know that these two identities are positioned as being exposable and disposable. And as a result, anti-Semitism and Islamophobia is so normalized, folks will be waddling in it, you see what I'm saying, and you don't even know it. With that being said, when you start discussing the concept of terrorism and proximity to people that are identified as Muslim or the Islamic religion, recognize that there is a legacy of Islamophobia there. You see what I'm saying? When you start talking about funding and how money is being spent in relationship to Jewish people, people start sliding into some anti-Semitism. You see what I'm saying? So make sure that you is not engaging in no anti-Semitism. And it don't mean you can't be critical of how much money or how much tax dollars is being sent over there to Israel. I know I just made a video about the historical legacy of black people and Palestinian people being in solidarity, but it doesn't erase the videos I've done in the past about when Kanye was on shenanigans and highlighting how black people and Jewish people have also been in coalition and solidarity and has a history of it. The last two things I'll say is, first, be very conscious about how the media is starting the bloodshed between these two states with the conflict with Hamas. It predates that. The second thing and last thing I'll say is, instead of coming to me as an expert on this topic, let's actually find Israeli, Palestinian, Muslim, Jewish followers, Jewish influencers and creators that, have a relationship and more experience and information to actually speak to what's going on. Education is elevation. I'll holler at y'all. Lastly, I know that what's going on in that Gaza Strip, you see, dates all the way back to before the biblical times. And I think there's a way for us to have compassion for the families that's burying loved ones in Palestine and in Israel. That's just me, though.
A lot of people have said things like, oh, I'm hesitant to speak on what's happening in Palestine. Oh, I don't want to pick a side. I don't feel like I know enough. This is such a complicated, nuanced issue. I don't know enough, so I'm not going to say anything. And in general, that's a good thing. We should not speak on things we do not know. That's what gets a lot of people in trouble on the internet in the first place. And I'm not speaking now because I think I'm some type of expert. In fact, I'm the furthest thing from it. I used to say these exact same phrases in an attempt to remain neutral in a situation I feel like I didn't understand. But then I asked myself, and I implore you all to ask yourselves, why you are so conflicted and confused and uninformed on a situation that has been taking place for over 75 years in the age of information. Because not only does the information given to us tell us a lot, but who's giving it to us tells us even more about the context of a situation. For example, when the United States, an incredibly pro-Israel country that is built on the backs of imperialism and colonialism, says that this situation is complicated, confusing, difficult to grasp, there's no real right side, both sides are equal powered, both sides are in the wrong, etc., you might want to double check that. Because they have 101 social and political reasons to back Israel, but practically none to back Palestine. And so for decades, they've been covering up Palestinian atrocities by saying things like, these are the consequences of conflict, or this is what happens in a war-torn area. And when something happens to Israeli citizens, it's, oh no, the innocent, oh no, the horror, oh no, all the people being killed, as opposed to all the people who have just died. And when situations happen like what we're seeing right now, when Palestinian forces enact violence and Israel meets that violence with greater and more detrimental violence, the conversation is now, oh, but we want peace on both sides. What a nuanced, complicated issue. And it is. But it's not as hard as we think. And we know this because we were quick to take a side when Russia began to invade Ukraine because they felt like they had some claim to the land. Information that we're being fed and the reality of the situation are not aligning, and it's causing a lot of cognitive dissonance in us. And so instead of confronting that head on, we decide to take the neutral, well, I don't know enough, so I'm not going to say anything stance. And I get it, but push past it. And if you can't do that, just really sit for a second and ask yourself where you're getting such information from, who's giving it to you, and what motivations they would have to tell you the stories that they're telling. Because if we keep letting history get told by the people in power, a lot of what's actually happening is going to get left out.
This is interesting. So what you're saying is I must be a self-hating Jew because I don't support the oppression of Palestinian people. Because I don't support cutting off food, water, electricity to 2.2 million people in Gaza. I must be a self-hating Jew because I am not willing to co-sign tactics that were used against us during the Holocaust to dehumanize Palestinians. Evidently, if I really loved Jewish people, I would be okay with dehumanizing a group of people as long as they're not Jewish. Is that what you're saying? I must not love Jewish people if I am not willing to support the bombing of an entire city, residential neighborhoods, schools, mosques, hospitals. I must hate Jewish people, including myself. So to you, Jewish people are oppressors because I, as a Jewish man, will never support an oppressor. And I don't believe Jewish people are oppressors. I believe the state of Israel is an oppressor. And I'm getting a little bit fired up because I started out my video before proclaiming my support and love for Israeli people by saying I am a proud and unapologetic Jewish man. And then I expressed my support for Palestinian liberation, and that's where you drew the line. What does that say about your brand of Judaism?
Israel is a colonial apartheid state hell-bent on the genocide of indigenous Palestinian people. Now, mind you, there were Palestinian Jews, Muslims, and Christians living in relative harmony until Europeans came with their colonizer mentality and founded the state of Israel in its place. Palestine was a territory of the Ottoman Empire until the British went to war with them and took it as a colony. Instead of granting them independence the way they did with every other colony in their empire, they founded the Jewish state of Israel in its place. Now, this didn't happen until 1948, but their intention was made evident by the Balfour Declaration in 1917. This was their plan all along, to take Palestine from the Ottoman Empire and to make it into a Jewish state. And this was spearheaded by the Zionist movement in the UK. And since that day, the Palestinians have not known life, liberty, nor the pursuit of happiness. They've had their land taken from them, their homes taken from them, their people dehumanized, humiliated, beaten, killed. The list goes on, and the world is watching and doing absolutely nothing. Sorry, I lost my cool there for a second. This shit gets me so riled up because I look at Western news media and all I see is propaganda being spewed at us.
Gigi Hadid just put out this statement. My thoughts are with all those affected by this unjustifiable tragedy, and every day that innocent lives are taken by this conflict, too many of which are children. I have deep empathy and heartbreak for the Palestinian struggle and life under occupation. It's a responsibility I hold daily. I also feel a responsibility to my Jewish friends to make it clear, as I have before, while I have hopes and dreams for Palestinians, none of them include harm of a Jewish person. The terrorizing of innocent people is not in alignment with and does not do any good for the Free Palestine movement. The idea that it does has fueled a painful, decades-long cycle of back and forth retaliation, which no innocent civilian, Palestinian, or Israeli deserves to be a casualty of, and helps perpetuate the false idea that being pro-Palestine is equal to being anti-Semitic. If you are hurting as I share my condolences today with my loved ones, both Palestinian and Jewish, I'm sending you my love and strength, whoever and wherever you are. There are a lot of complex, personal, and valid feelings, but every human deserves basic rights, treatment, and security, no matter their nationality, religion, ethnicity, or where they were born. I know my words will never be enough or heal the deep wounds of so many, but I pray for the safety of innocent lives always.
Now, this video just explains how people feel about this conflict. We have heard different opinions from different clips on how horrific this war is. There is no smoke without fire, and two wrongs never make it right. Well, this issue has caused different people or many to be on a particular side of defense, and people have to differentiate, just like they have been doing for years now. People are not anti-Semitic, but being anti-Zionist does not equate to being anti-Semitic. And being pro-Palestinian does not mean pro-Hamas. And people are saying that from their perspective, because you will see that individuals and entities want to obfuscate those demarcations given to then shut down the discussion unless it's pro-Israeli. So people need to be very careful on the language that they use, the nuances that they use, and what got to be at the forefront for most Muslims is what does the religion say. So those who may say, oh, this is a good thing, what does the religion say? Well, it doesn't say that. Those who say it's a bad thing, and these individuals should be grateful for a lot that they've got. What does religion say? Now, it doesn't say that either. Nouns is really important, and at this point, people only have to look and draw parallels because oppression is always clear and it always comes out to the surface. Let's now check some of the comments from people. Jews, Christians, and Muslims coexisted in Palestine in peace until British Americans and UN got involved. According to biblical accounts, Gaza fell to Israelite rule from the reign of King David in the early 11th century BCE. Israel was scattered and then returned only in 1948, becoming a nation once again as promised in scripture, and was proven to be theirs later. I don't support either side's actions, but if you're gonna dish it better, then be able to back it. This one says, free Palestine. You start a war and act like a victim. What bothers me is innocent civilians being unalived and paraded around the streets. I don't care what religion. Israel has declared official war. It's going to get wild. The worst part is Hamas got weapons America left behind in Afghanistan. Now, standing with Palestine isn't supporting Hamas, but standing against the unjust reaction of the Israeli government when they punish the innocent Palestinians. Okay, these are just some of the comments, and people are just reacting, commenting. What do you think about this whole, guys? Thank you for watching, and see you in my next video. Make sure to drop your comments.